You've heard about kale smoothies and quinoa bowls, but what about the superfoods that once saved entire villages from starvation? Plants so potent they were prescribed by medieval physicians, protected by royal decrees, and cultivated by monks who believed they contained divine healing power. Before supplements and scientific nutrition, medieval farmers were already growing botanical powerhouses that modern nutritionists are only now rediscovering. These weren't just foods, they were medicine, currency, and survival tools, all rolled into one. Some were bitter enough to make you wince, others were so valuable they could pay a knight's ransom. A few were even believed to ward off plague and evil spirits. And the most surprising part? Most of these forgotten superfoods are still growing wild, perhaps in your own backyard, waiting to be rediscovered. Today, at Stellaria, we're stepping back into the storm-lashed coastal gardens, foggy monastery plots, and humble cottage yards where these extraordinary plants thrived. These are the 10 most forgotten superfoods medieval farmers relied on that you can grow too. Deep in the shadowy corners of monastery gardens, a plant grew so tall and otherworldly that people believed it was delivered by angels. With hollow green stalks reaching 6 feet high and umbrella-shaped flowers that cast strange silhouettes in the mist, Angelica wasn't just another herb. It was medieval Europe's botanical shield against darkness itself. When the Black Death swept through villages and cities, Angelica root became more precious than gold. Physicians, monks, and common folk alike carried pieces in pouches around their necks, believing its aromatic oils could purify plague-infected air. The entire plant, from its licorice-scented roots to its juniper-like seeds, was considered sacred medicine. But Angelica wasn't just superstition. Modern analysis shows it contains furocoumarins and other compounds with genuine antibacterial and antiviral properties. Monks distilled its essence into potent digestive tonics and fever remedies. Herbalists prescribed it for everything from respiratory infections to painful joints. The hollow stems, when candied in honey or sugar, became luxurious treats reserved for nobility and celebrations, sweet, aromatic, and believed to extend life itself. Walk through any craft distillery today, and you'll likely find Angelica root steeping in spirits, its ancient powers now captured in botanical gins and liqueurs. This once sacred plant still grows with otherworldly presence. One seed in your garden can unleash this medieval marvel for years to come. Nearby, in shadowy woodland glades, another plant of devastating beauty and deadliness thrived. Lily of the Valley, with its delicate white bells and sweet, intoxicating perfume, was perhaps the most paradoxical plant in the medieval pharmacopoeia. A poison so potent it could stop a heart, yet a medicine so respected it was prescribed to strengthen that very same organ. This duality made Lily of the Valley a plant of fascination and fear. Monks cultivated it carefully in medicinal gardens, harvesting the flowers with gloved hands and drying them in separate rooms from food herbs. In the hands of a skilled apothecary, it saved lives. In the hands of the untrained or the malicious, it brought swift, untraceable death. Court poisoners knew its potential, as did village healers, creating a strange equality where the same plant served both the highest nobility and the poorest peasants. Known as the ladder to heaven by monastery herbalists, this woodland flower contains powerful cardiac glycosides, compounds so similar to modern heart medications that medieval physicians were unknowingly pioneering cardiology when they prescribed carefully measured doses for dropsy, what we now call congestive heart failure, and irregular heartbeats. The margin between healing and harm was perilously thin. One extra leaf could transform medicine into murder. Look at Lily of the Valley today and you'll see it sold in garden centers without warning labels, its deadly secrets locked away in forgotten herbals. Those delicate white bells that decorate spring gardens once held the power of life and death in medieval medicine cabinets. Unlike delicate healing herbs, Horseradish delivers its medicine with brute force. This potent root was medieval Europe's equivalent of a sledgehammer, deployed when subtlety failed and stronger intervention was needed. Its power lies in volatile compounds that remain dormant until the root is damaged. Medieval farmers knew that intact, horseradish had little effect. It needed to be crushed, grated, or bruised to unleash its full potential. The resulting paste generated heat so intense it could redden skin, open airways, and bring tears to the eyes, effects that medieval healers interpreted as the body purging itself of disease. When respiratory infections threatened life during damp European winters, crushed horseradish became essential medicine. Packed onto the chest to break fever and loosen congestion, it provided immediate relief. Mixed with vinegar, it preserved meat in an age without refrigeration. Even the nobility, with their expensive imported spices, respected horseradish's ability to cut through rich foods and aid digestion. Plant horseradish once and you've got it forever, a fact that delights some gardeners and terrifies others. This unstoppable root breaks through soil that would defeat most plants, a living reminder of medieval resilience that connects us to ancestors who relied on its fierce power through countless harsh winters. The most overlooked superfood in medieval history might be growing in your driveway right now: Broadleaf Plantain. A plant so common it becomes invisible, earned the title Mother of Herbs in healing traditions across Europe. This humble, low-growing rosette thrives where little else will grow, even between cobblestones and in heavily trampled paths. When castle physicians charged gold for their services, plantain provided free medicine for commoners. Its leaves, when crushed and applied to wounds, contain compounds called allantoin and aucubin that reduce inflammation, stop bleeding, and accelerate healing. For medieval farmers working with sharp tools and living alongside unpredictable animals, a handful of these leaves could mean the difference between minor injury and life-threatening infection. But plantain's value extended beyond wound care. Its seeds, similar to modern psyllium, provided powerful digestive support and treatment for diarrheal diseases. Young leaves offered nutrition comparable to spinach, available even in trampled pathways where little else would grow. The entire plant could be brewed into tea for respiratory complaints when expensive imported remedies were unavailable. For these reasons, plantain earned nicknames like soldier's herb and healer's step, a reference to how it seemed to grow wherever healers walked. The weeks between winter's end and spring's bounty were once called the hunger gap, a dangerous time when food stores dwindled and new crops weren't ready yet. Enter chickweed, a delicate plant with star-shaped flowers that made the difference between starvation and survival. Unlike many wild plants requiring special preparation, chickweed could be eaten immediately upon gathering. Its mild, slightly sweet flavor made it palatable even to children. Medieval women collected it by the basketful, adding it to pottages and breads to stretch limited flour supplies. High in vitamin C, iron, calcium, and magnesium, chickweed provided precisely the nutrients depleted by months of limited winter diet. Beyond nutrition, this unassuming plant earned its place in monastery medicine for its remarkable cooling properties. Applied externally as a healing wrap, commonly called a poultice, it soothed inflammations, burns, and skin irritations. Its juice was used for eye complaints and to reduce fevers, applications supported by modern findings that the plant contains natural anti-inflammatory compounds. During famine years, villages with access to chickweed had measurably lower death rates. Its appearance in early spring was so important that medieval foraging calendars specifically tracked its emergence, considering it the official end of the hunger moon period. Today, while medieval peasants would have gratefully gathered every stem, most modern gardeners reach for the weed killer instead. The irony of Einkorn's story cuts deep. Our improved modern wheat provides more calories, but significantly less nutrition per serving. What medieval farmers understood instinctively, we're rediscovering through scientific analysis. Ancient foods often outperform their modern counterparts. Einkorn Wheat, a grain that fed humanity for over 10,000 years, continued to hold its ground in medieval fields long after newer, high-yielding varieties began to dominate. What made it special wasn't abundance, but resilience. Its deep roots and natural disease resistance meant it could grow in poor soil, withstand drought, and resist the fungal blights that regularly devastated medieval harvests. In an age when crop failure meant starvation, einkorn's reliability made it worth preserving. The grain itself is nutritionally superior in almost every category: 30% more protein, higher levels of lutein for eye health. Its distinctive nutty flavor and golden color produced hearty breads that sustained laborers through long workdays. Perhaps most importantly, einkorn's genetic simplicity, just 14 chromosomes compared to modern wheat's 42, made it more digestible and potentially less inflammatory. In remote mountain villages, medieval alpine communities maintained special communal fields exclusively for einkorn, protected by local laws against conversion to other crops. These fields represented security in an unpredictable world, a wisdom we're only beginning to understand again. What if? This question haunts agricultural historians studying the ground bean, a North American superfood that represents one of history's most intriguing might-have-beens. Introduced to Europe through early transatlantic contact, this climbing vine with protein-rich tubers briefly caught the attention of forward-thinking medieval naturalists and monastery gardeners. Each vine produces strings of small, starchy tubers containing up to 17% protein, 3 times that of a potato, along with complex carbohydrates, fiber, and beneficial plant compounds. For medieval peasants perpetually short on protein sources, it offered nutrition that few other crops could match. Even more remarkable, each plant improved soil quality through nitrogen fixation, a concept not scientifically understood until centuries later, but recognized by observant farmers. Records from experimental monastery plantings reveal European growers were impressed by the plant's productivity, noting that a single vine could produce dozens of tubers without depleting the soil. The flavor, described as nutty and reminiscent of both bean and chestnut, made these tubers versatile in the kitchen, especially during Lenten periods when animal products were forbidden. Imagine if this climbing, protein-packed powerhouse had replaced potatoes in European fields. History might have unfolded very differently. Fewer famines, better nourished populations, and stronger resistance to disease. Instead, ground bean receded into obscurity. Native Americans who could sustain themselves almost entirely on this plant during harsh winters might wonder at our collective forgetfulness of such a valuable food source. We spend billions on anti-anxiety medications while a gentle herb once valued enough for royal decree grows neglected in garden corners. Lemon balm, known in medieval times as honey leaf or heart's delight, held a special place in healing traditions as the herb that could mend both body and spirit. So essential was this fragrant plant that Charlemagne himself ordered it planted in all imperial gardens in the early 9th century. Medieval physicians prized lemon balm as a cordial, a remedy believed to strengthen the heart and lift the spirits. The 12th century abbess Hildegard of Bingen described it as capable of making the heart merry and joyful when brewed as a tea, an early recognition of what modern science now confirms as mild, anxiolytic, and mood-elevating properties. Beyond psychological benefits, lemon balm served practical medicinal purposes in everyday medieval life. Its natural antiviral compounds made it effective against cold sores and herpes outbreaks that periodically swept through communities. The herb's mild sedative effect helped with insomnia without the strong side effects of more powerful sleep remedies. Its pleasant taste meant it could be given to children and the elderly when stronger medicines were too harsh. The plant's Latin name, Melissa officinalis, references both its attractiveness to honeybees, melissa means bee in Greek, and its official status in medieval apothecaries. Monastery beekeepers planted it near hives to encourage bees to return and produce more honey, creating a self-sustaining cycle where bees pollinated the herb while it improved honey production. Medieval manuscripts called it heart's delight and prescribed it for melancholy vapors, what we now recognize as depression and anxiety. Medieval Europe was literally held together by flax. From the sailcloth that powered naval exploration to the delicate linen pages that preserved knowledge in illuminated manuscripts. Yet beyond its crucial role in textiles, flax seeds served as one of the most nutritionally complete foods available, offering protein, fiber, and essential fatty acids centuries before these nutrients had names. Growing flax required skill and precise timing. Medieval farmers sowed it densely to encourage tall, straight stalks with minimal branching, ideal for fiber production. The plant was carefully harvested in two distinct ways: pulled up by the roots when fiber was the priority, or grain harvested when seeds were needed for food and medicine. The golden seeds were tiny powerhouses containing omega-3 fatty acids in concentrations unmatched by any other commonly available food source. In regions where fish was scarce or too expensive for common people, flax provided the essential fats now known to support brain development and reduce inflammation. Medieval physicians didn't understand the biochemistry, but they observed the effects, prescribing ground flax seeds for everything from joint pain to dry skin to constipation. So valuable was this crop that medieval tax records show flax was accepted as currency. Peasants could pay feudal obligations with measured quantities of flax fiber instead of coins. Charlemagne ordered every royal farm to grow flax, declaring it essential to both military power and public health. The blue flowers that covered flax fields for just a few days each summer inspired religious symbolism, often associated with the Virgin Mary's robes in medieval artwork. The transformation is remarkable. A plant feared for its sting becomes a nutritional savior when processed with heat. This duality, pain and nourishment from the same source, made stinging nettle a powerful metaphor in medieval thought, with monastery writings often comparing it to life's hardships. Difficult to grasp, but ultimately strengthening. For peasants and nobles alike, this ubiquitous weed served as both medicine chest and vital food source, especially during the dangerous spring hunger gap. The fearsome sting that modern gardeners avoid was actually considered medicinal. Deliberate urtication, brushing nettles lightly across arthritic joints or areas with poor circulation, created a counter-irritant effect that increased blood flow and reduced deeper pain. When food was scarce, nettles became a survival staple. Young spring shoots, harvested with gloved hands and cooked like spinach, provided vital nutrition after winter's dietary restrictions. The plant's nutrient content is extraordinary: more iron than spinach, more calcium than milk, and complete protein with all essential amino acids. Beyond food and medicine, nettles served practical functions in medieval households. The stems contain strong fibers similar to flax, used for cordage and rough textiles. The deep green juice extracted from the leaves created a color-fast dye for wool and linen. Even medieval armor makers maintained nettle patches specifically for polishing metal. The leaves' high silica content created a natural metal polish that brought knight's armor to a mirror shine. Our final medieval superfood sounds like the name of a benevolent monarch, but good King Henry was the poor man's asparagus of medieval Europe. Archaeological digs have found it still growing near abandoned village foundations 500 plus years after settlements were deserted, a testament to its remarkable persistence. The genius of this perennial vegetable lies in its three-part harvest from a single plant. Early spring shoots, emerging when little else was growing, could be harvested like asparagus. Later, the arrow-shaped leaves offered spinach-like greens throughout summer. By autumn, the seeds could be collected and ground into flour, a rare example of a European plant that provided starch, greens, and early shoots from the same rootstock. Once established, Good King Henry required almost no maintenance. It returned year after year without replanting, tolerated poor soil and partial shade, and resisted most pests and diseases. This self-sufficiency made it so valuable that medieval land contracts sometimes specifically mentioned existing patches as property assets. Nutritionally, Good King Henry provided exceptional levels of iron, calcium, and vitamins A and C, precisely the nutrients most lacking in the standard medieval diet of bread and porridge. While nobles feasted on imported delicacies, this unassuming plant quietly sustained generations of common folk with minimal care and maximum nutrition. These plants weren't carefully engineered or imported from exotic lands. They were resilient survivors that thrived in the margins of a harsh world. From heart-stopping poisons transformed into life-saving medicine to weeds that saved entire villages from starvation, each tells a powerful story of medieval ingenuity. What's remarkable isn't just their nutritional profiles, which modern science is only now beginning to appreciate. It's their persistence. These plants survived centuries without human intervention, carrying their genetic wisdom forward while countless carefully bred crops disappeared. They're still with us today, growing in forest edges, along old stone walls, and yes, probably in your own backyard. The same plants that fed monks, sustained peasants, and treated nobles are quietly waiting to be rediscovered. Which of these forgotten superfoods surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey through botanical wisdom, hit like, subscribe, and share this video. This is Stellar Eureka, signing off.